Let's take a few moments to think about the kind of culture the gospel creates in a new church plant or a church plant that is decidedly centered on the gospel as the primary paradigm and power. What begins to emerge is this: the whole church takes on an identity as a missional community. And I know the word missional sometimes gets overused, but basically it's just a good word that says we're all called to live in God's story to His glory. But with respect to missionaries that we support or those with a specific call to vocational ministry, there's a few things to keep in mind. Number one, we really want to pray that we will be able to send out from within. And what that presupposes is that very gospel culture I mentioned, where we all see ourselves belonging to the Lord and also asking the question, Lord, I'm so tired of trying to give you bit parts in my story. I want to find my place in your story. So a church that thinks, prays, and worships that way should not be shocked, even pray specifically for the Lord to raise up local and global missions individuals. That creates a family connection. You see, that's what we want here. We want a culture of family. We are looking for the women and men that would be a part of us, because we will think about them and relate to them differently. That takes us to the second aspect of a church, new or an older one, that is thinking missional living and loving. Have a care strategy. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind, tragically catches up in the world of missions, especially those that are in faraway places. And so we want to be strategic to think about, how do we treat our church planters and our missionaries as family? Now, how do you treat your own family? Let's say you had a daughter or son called to graduate school in Italy or into an African country. You're going to be thinking what? Sending care packages. You're not over there just asking them about, are you going to class, right? You're not just pragmatic. You're family. And so a care strategy with respect to missionaries and those called into vocational ministry, church planting and otherwise, it means that we think across the board. There are spiritual needs that we want to be strategically committed to. There are fun needs. Don't just see our missionaries and church planters as another species of human being. They need to laugh. They need not just you send them a new covered Bible. They probably already have a dozen anyway, but give them a gift card to a great restaurant. Think strategically about physically, emotionally, spiritually, how can we be strategic and consistent in caring for those that we are sending out? Thirdly, families love to celebrate, do they not? We love to be remembered when it's our birthday or anniversary. That's another thing we can do strategically for those that go out from us, or the missions groups, missionaries that we as a church family have committed to support financially. Get to know the names of their kids, birthdays, holidays. Think about Christmas. Think about times, especially for those who cannot easily come home for the holidays. How can we make it more special? It's just think family always, because we are family. In fact, the Bible finishes with this overwhelmingly glorious picture of when Christ comes back. It's a wedding feast. Bible begins with a wedding, ends with a wedding, and we will celebrate forever the completion of this gospel story as we enter in to life in the new heaven and new earth, forever rejoicing and loving one another. That takes me finally to the last image. Family speak. Once again, sometimes churches take on the notion that missionaries and church planters are the ministry rock stars, or they really are different than me. Oh, wow, you must have an incredible devotional life that you would go be a missionary. See, we really want our whole church to think about everybody in that church is claimed and called to be a kingdom redemptive presence right there in the city where you planted that church. But especially as you think about those that are in the newsletters or those you pray for from the pulpit, they're ordinary people. In fact, the gospel always is a treasure in jars of clay. So let's treat them as family. They are family. They are brothers and our sisters. Let's use language appropriate to that. They're not more loved by Jesus than he loves you, but just together we want to steward the only love that's better than life. And we want to remember them, even thinking about at certain times being generous enough to make home travel possible for some of the things in our church family that we would celebrate together, or for some of the celebrations like graduations, etc., that it might be difficult for them to pull off. So always live and love to the glory of God. Let's pull for each other. Let's rejoice in the good news that Jesus will indeed finish making all things new.